we're going to be making a pasta salad in a salad jar. So we were explaining in a previous lesson, and I've put it onto Google Classroom and so, well, if you've got a jar that looks like these mason jars, this is quite a big one, it'll probably be too big, but again, doesn't really matter. A nice jar like that, or if you haven't got a mason jar and you don't know where you could get one, a jam jar, an old jam jar would be great, or any glass jar. Or if you've not got a glass jar, you don't want to buy a glass jar, you've not got any jam in or pickles in that you can empty out the jar, then any container is better than no container. Okay, anything, because otherwise you will take your product home in a sandwich bag. So imagine how that lovely pasta salad is going to look by the time it's been mushed and mangled in a sandwich bag all the way home. So bring something in that you can display it in. A glass jar would probably be best. Something about that size would be good. I know this is my sugar pot, but that size would be perfect for what we're making. Right, so we start with the pasta. So when we're adding pasta, this is awkward. When we're adding pasta, we get our saucepan and we are going to put just enough water in it to cover the amount of pasta that we're using. So I would recommend, I've just put in about a couple of centimetres there, about that much, okay? A couple of centimetres of water into the pan. Check which dial you're going to be turning for the hob that you're on. For safety, you've got to remember you have big classes. There might be 2 or 3 of you using the same hob at the same time. So we need to be really careful about where our pan handles go. We don't want them out to the front because if they get knocked, we could cause someone some serious harm. So pan handles to the side, also not over other burners because those pan handles will burn and get hot. So out to the side, switch on at the wall, find the right dial for the hob ring that you're on and turn it all the way up to 6 because we need to get that water boiling before we put our pasta in it. You're going to be using 50 grams of pasta. I'm going to use the little bag of macaroni because the big bags are about this big that you're going to be using between you. So I think we'll end up dishing them out into jugs for you. They're absolutely huge. We're going to use 50 grams. When you use these electric scales, they're the bags of pasta that we're going to be using. When we use the electric scales, you turn them on and they should say 0G for grams. If it doesn't say G, you're not measuring correctly, you're not going to get an accurate weight. So you press the unit button until it says G at the top and you press the on button to make sure that it says 0 to get the right measurement. If you're using the old analog scales, which are the old creamy coloured ones over there, can someone just pass me a set and I'll do a demonstration of those as well in a sec. Weigh out your 50 grams of pasta. It's okay if you're 1 or 2 over. These ones are the old-fashioned scales, but that doesn't mean that they're rubbish. It just means that they're a bit older. These turn at the bottom and it says 0 kg or 0 pounds. Now, we work in metric in this country, not imperial, so we use kg. And if I were to weigh something on there, I'd make sure, so if I was going to put my bowl on and carry on weighing into that, I'd need to turn the bit at the bottom until it said 0. You can see all this on the screen later, so don't worry if you can't see what I'm doing now. It says 0 kg, and then when I weigh into it, it starts to weigh in 25 gram increments. So each tiny little line on these scales is 25 grams, okay? So 50 grams would be 2 of the little lines on these scales if you're using those ones. You can put your pasta to one side until your water is boiling. You don't need that yet. And you are going to do your vegetables. You will have a selection of vegetables to choose from. I recommend that you just use one of each because it adds lots of colour and variety to your product. Someone said to me before, what if I don't like vegetables? Unfortunately, there will be products that we make over the 11 weeks that you might not like. But I guarantee you that someone at home, whether they like it or not, will try it because they'll be so proud of you for making your first product in school that they will probably eat it even if they really don't like it. I do that with my kids all the time when they bring something home, no matter how weird it looks or how strange it looks, I'll still eat it, and I'm so proud of them for even trying to cook in school. So if you think, well, I don't like that, well, make it for someone else then. Make it for someone who does like it, okay? My water is starting to go. How will I know when it's boiling? What does boiling water look like? I will let someone answer that question. What does boiling water look like?
Starts bubbling.
Starts bubbling, excellent. A lot of people don't know what boiling water looks like. So in the pan, when it really starts to bubble, and I'll put the camera on it when it starts to go, that's when we're going to put the pasta in. But obviously, that's boiling water. So we don't just take the pasta and chuck it in, because if it spits at us, we'll end up getting little scalds on us. We need to be careful. We'll turn the heat down slightly. We'll add the pasta in gently, and then we will turn the heat back up again. In terms of our vegetables, we're going to have a choice between carrots, peppers, tomatoes and cucumber. We've got lots of different coloured peppers that you can choose from. All of these vegetables have grown on or near the ground. So what needs to happen to them? We need to wash them. So you would get a colander. Okay, this is a colander. This is a sieve. They are different. We use sieves for dried foods like flowers and icing sugar. We use colanders for draining. Okay, so we use a colander, not a sieve. And we put our vegetables in and we wash them off before we use them. Now the carrot is going to be peeled. Well, it's up to you. You can peel the carrot. I don't normally peel my carrots, but I'm going to today to show you how to use a peeler. Normally I use my carrot skin because that's where all the fibre is. That's what's good for us. All the nutrients live under the skin, and I usually just leave the skin on. But I will show you how to use a peeler. The water is starting to boil, so I'll just show you on the camera. You can see without the steam getting in the way. The water is starting to boil, so I'm just going to turn the heat down, making sure I'm not leaning over the pan of water. I'm going to slowly put my pasta in. To the bottom of the dish. There we go. And then I can pop the heat back up, but not all the way up, because the starches will start to release from the pasta and it'll end up bubbling up and boiling over. So I'll just turn it down slightly. Right, I'm going to start with the carrot. If you are peeling, we've got a couple of different types of peeler. We've got this type. We've got the one that looks like a Y shape with the band across the top. They're both used in the same way. You can either peel towards yourself if you're careful, or if you're not sure or you're a bit worried, they work both ways, so you can peel away from yourself as well. And just keep your fingers out the way and peel off the skin. Now, the best thing to do with a carrot for this kind of salad is grate it. So just like with cheese, get a grater, use the big grater side, and again, be very careful. I'm going quite quickly because I'm doing a demonstration and we'll be here all day if I go slower. You might just choose to do it quite slowly because you don't want to cut yourself. Some of the cuts I get are from graters because I go too quickly and I get the edge of my finger or my knuckle on there. Once you get to a little bit like that, if you're worried, stop, don't carry on. Okay, and there's my carrot. That's one product ready to go into my salad. I'll now do my pepper. You'll use about a third of a pepper, depending on the size of the pepper that comes out the bag. If it's just a tiny one, then you can use a half. If it's a bigger one, then it'll be a third. Remove the seeds. Just cut down. Take the white bit of the skin out because that is the bit that tends to not taste very nice. In a chilli, that's where all the heat is. There's no heat in a pepper though. Different peppers have different flavours, so yellow and orange ones tend to be a little bit sweeter than green and red ones, but it's up to you which type you put in. And to chop it up, we have two grips in food. We have what's called a bridge, where we make a bridge with our thumb and our fingers, and we have what's called a claw, where we actually put our hands into a claw. So if it's something that moves, and I'll show you with the tomato, you'd use a bridge. If it's something like this that doesn't move, because I've already cut it, would use the claw. So you tuck your fingernails right under, so you're not in any risk of catching the ends of your fingers, and you slice using the claw into thin strips. And then take each one of those strips and with your hand in the claw again, cut them into little cubes. Okay, and those little cubes have a name, and later on in this course you'll be learning all the different names for our vegetable cuts, and these ones are called macédoine, but don't worry about remembering that now, we'll learn it later on in the course. But macédoine is our nice cubes. Thin grated carrot like that, if we were using that with our knife, they'd be called julienne. So you'll be learning all of those later on. The more confident you get, the quicker you'll be able to go, or the more slices you'll be able to hold together to get it done. So that's 2 vegetables done. I'll do my tomato now, and as I said, with your tomato, shift them out of the way. With your tomato, it moves. So to be safe, we create a bridge over our tomato with our fingers and our thumb, like that. And our knife goes under the bridge. Our knife goes under the bridge to cut the tomato in half. And then it's flat then, and it's much safer to use. And then you can slice it with the claw, keeping your fingernails out of the way. I won't do all of them together. And then again, into little pieces, like this. Some people take the seeds out. I'm going to keep them in for flavour and for moisture to stop my product from drying out. Sliding that over. Okay, that's tomato. And then finally, cucumber. Again, it moves. So I'm going to use that bridge. Just chop it in half, so I've got a nice firm base, and I'm going to slice it into thin batons, which are actually called jardiniere when you do your cuts later on in the year. And then each one of them is going to be small. The idea is, for quality control, you try and make each piece the same size as the one before. We'll be looking for, in this first assessment, that all your pieces of tomato are the same size, all your pieces of pepper are the same size, all your pieces of cucumber are the same size. I don't mean to the millimetre. Sarah and I are not going to get our rulers out and start measuring all of your little bits of vegetables, but we will be able to see when we photograph it how evenly cut your vegetables are. So we will be looking for that. We'll also be looking at your organisation, your preparation, your health and safety, your hygiene, and then finally how it looks in that jar. So whilst I've been chatting, I've chopped all my vegetables are prepped. I can now go back to my pasta to test that it's done. I haven't got a wooden spoon. Why should I use a wooden spoon and not a metal spoon? Go on. Yeah, the metal spoon conducts heat, so we shouldn't use a metal spoon. But I'm going to. We shouldn't use a metal spoon because it conducts heat. You should be using a wooden one. And then how can we test? What is the best way to test if your pasta is cooked? Yeah, put it on the side and see if it's squishy. What else could we do?
Can you throw it on a wall?
Yeah, we wouldn't be doing that in the food room because it's not very hygienic. But like sometimes with spaghetti, you might see if it sticks to something. But what's the one thing that we can do to see if it's cooked?
Use a thermometer to measure the heat.
You could use a thermometer, and we will do that later in the course with meats in particular because they're unsafe. But we're getting there. What could we do? Taste it. Absolutely. Taste it. We need to be tasting a few of the things that we make, because how do you know if it tastes right? How do you know if it's seasoned right? How do you know if it's actually cooked? And the best way to do pasta is for it to be al dente. And al dente, does anyone know what al dente means before I explain? Has anyone heard it before? Al dente means to the bite. To the bite, so it's quite firm still. So it's not soft and squidgy and overcooked. It's also not crunchy. It's got a bit of a crisp bite to it. So this isn't quite done. I did just test a bit. Please do not eat it straight out of the pan, red hot boiling like that, because you're going to burn yourself. Leave it to the side, or leave it on a spoon for it to cool slightly, and then sometimes you can tell just by touching it if it's cooked. Sometimes you can tell by cutting into it, because you might be able to see there it's still got a white ring inside it, which means that it's not all cooked all the way through yet. It's still starchy in the middle, so we'll just pop it back in. But if you're taking it out and it feels soft, taste it. Does it have the right texture for pasta? If it does, turn it off the heat. Carry your pan carefully to your nearest sink. Make sure there's a colander in the sink waiting for you, and pour away the hot pasta. Hot water, not hot pasta. We're going to be making a cold pasta salad. So how are we going to cool our pasta down, do you reckon? What's the quickest, easiest way? Yeah. It won't do it any harm. So just run it under the cold water until it's cooled down, and then we can start assembling our pasta jar much quicker. So while we just wait for the pasta to cook, get my jar ready. I might start then, I might do this a bit like a rainbow. I used beetroot last time, so we had 5 colours, didn't we? But I've not got beetroot this time. What comes last in the rainbow?
Green.
I've not, yeah, green. I'm going to put all of my green in the bottom. Now when you get this home, you could add, tip it out your jar. You could add lots of things to it. You could put tuna in it and a bit of mayo and turn it into a tuna pasta. Put ham with it, chicken with it. You could put a pasta sauce on it. Whatever you wanted to do. But really we're just testing you today, or Wednesday rather, on your ability to use the hob, cook your pasta, and to chop your vegetables. Okay, that'll be done. Turn the heat off. I'm going to get mobile, carry it over to the sink, pour into the colander, run the cold water and drain the pasta. Get the pasta cooled down under the cold water tap. And then make sure you shake it off. You might even decide to pop it back on the pan so that it doesn't drip all over the floor, causing everyone to trip up. And there's my jar with my cucumber in it. I'm going to put a little bit of the pasta. Your pasta's bigger than this. I know I've decided to use macaroni, so I know that looks shocking because it's like really skinny pasta. You're using big pieces of pasta, not tiny ones like me. And then yellow would be the next colour. And then a bit more pasta. And then orange, that's right. Questioning my rainbow. And then pasta. I think this jar perhaps was a tiny bit big. Oh, sorry, I'm throwing pasta at you, just in case you wanted to taste. Thought I'd throw it at you. Pasta. And then tomato. And you can see the difference. Imagine if I'd have just stuck this in a Tupperware. You wouldn't have seen, oh, I've done it now. You wouldn't have seen that layering that I've got there. Green, pasta, yellow, pasta, carrot, pasta, tomato. Nice layered pasta jar. Okay. That's our pasta product.